Hey Greenville, Pete here for the Upstate Performance Project, and today's video is about sports performance. So today we're going to cover how we put together programs, why we differ it, and why we think athletes need to start now. So just in general, sport-specific training or strength conditioning for different sports, it may seem counterintuitive. It may seem, unnecessary to some that just general training, general strength and conditioning training is going to get people in shape for their sport. And by and large, you might be right. If we take someone that's never trained before and we put them through a workout program, especially if they're in that junior high, high school age range, they're going to adapt, they're going to get better, they're going to get stronger. And that's good. And so a general strength training program is great for anybody, and anybody will see results from that. But what we're talking about is taking that principle and adding in some specific skill-based movements into the program at particular times throughout the year to maximize their performance for their particular sport, at the same time reducing the risk of injury. So in other words, if we take a football player and we know their season runs through the fall, but what we try to do is we try to get our clients, year-round. And we have a year-round program idea, or at least a template. It's going to adjust based on the team or the individual athlete, based on how well they're performing, whether they're injured, things like that. But the general idea is if we have them, during the season, we're doing some maintenance work. It's slightly progressive through the season. We still want to gain and maintain the strength. So we program things a little different. It's not just 3 sets of 10 at 70% during the season. There's a little bit more progression during the season, but it's relatively lighter work, or I should say less volume. We can still push some heavy weights, just not as many sets. Then we move into the postseason, a little bit more recovery-based type stuff. The off seasons where we really put in the work, really get bigger, stronger, more powerful, more explosive. And then in the few weeks leading up to the season, we start to change things around. We still are pushing heavy weight to get stronger, but we're more concerned, or we're less concerned at this point about adding size, and we're more concerned about skill-based movement. So we're going to add in position-specific drills, whether it be something for a receiver or a lineman, or if we're talking a volleyball player, front row versus a back row player, going to have different skills that they need, and so that's where we start to put that in. So there's a systematic way and time where we add some of these movements in. So that being said, when we program when we write our programs, we do it in certain phases, and we have an idea of what we want to accomplish in each phase, and we kind of adjust that as we see fit. So if we get 2 or 3 athletes at a time, in a particular sport, we can progress them as well as getting a whole team in here. And either way, it works out so that the athlete can improve performance over the entire year. And again, reducing their risk of injury, and that's what we do. So, why is it important for them to start now? Well, what we see, or what we've seen, talking to athletic directors, talking with coaches, and being a former strength coach myself at a university, when the athletes transition from high school to college specifically, it's a culture shock. In other words, there are so many issues that the athlete is going to face, not only from a time management standpoint and just the freedom and all of that kind of stuff, schoolwork, but the sport itself and the training intensity itself goes way up. So I used to see athletes come in that were strong and that were good high school players stepping into the collegiate ranks. And just the practices alone, not even the weight training stuff that I did, but the practices on the field were kicking their butts because they weren't used to that intensity. Then they'd get in the weight room and be expected to do certain movements at a certain level of proficiency to keep progressing their strength. So I spent a lot of time taking incoming freshmen and transfers and making sure that they assimilated well to not only my terminology and kind of our training philosophy, but at the same time making sure that their technique was sound. Because you just never know, as a strength coach in college, where they learned their fundamentals, if they ever did. And so we spent a lot of time correcting, or at least, tweaking some movement patterns. So starting those athletes now in high school or junior high, will help them transition into the college. And that's great for a small percentage of people that go on to play college. So we're also talking about people improving their performance and lessening the risk of injury right now while they're playing. And that's how our programs are set up, is to address those issues. So you can expect, if your athletes are coming here, that they're not only getting exercises that are going to help improve their performance, some skill-based movements that are going to help improve their performance in their particular position or skill, but also reduce the risk of injury by talking about landing mechanics, proper recovery, stretching, mobility work, all of that stuff as well. In addition to just good form, good technique, that trumps everything. So we'll really work with each individual. So even if we got a full team in here, not everyone's going to be on the same page, and we'll be able to pull out individuals, give them some more specific things to work on versus the ones that have already sound technique and just need to get stronger. So again, it's very individualized in nature, even within a group setting. But again, we've talked to athletic directors, and a lot of times they say athletes are coming back saying, wow, man, I wish I had done this. I wish I had prepared a little bit more. And a lot of times we see, and this is something I experienced when I was in high school, we didn't have much of a weight program. We had a small little weight room. We didn't really know what to do, and there wasn't anyone to help us guide through. And get better and get stronger. So I think we all wanted to lift weights and we all wanted to get stronger, but not a lot of us knew what to do, and myself included. And I think looking back, that would help me immensely. I can see areas where I could have been better. I could have done better, performed better had I, spent a little bit more time strength training at that time. I just didn't know any better. And so we want to reach out and reach those athletes and help them understand that they can reach their potential earlier. They can reach their goals. They can get on the field. They can do these things that maybe they want to do. They just don't know how to go about it. Or maybe they're already a top level athlete on the field, on the court, and we want to just take it to the next level. And strength training, no one's going to deny that it's a great way to get better. We all know that. But there is a right and a wrong way to do it. And even one step further than that, even if you have the right program written out the right way, adjusting for the different types of or times of the year and in season, out of season, that sort of thing, having a qualified coach is super important. And I stress that not just because I'm a coach, but because we see people all the time squatting to the improper depth. And again, we're not going to get into how low is low enough. That's not necessarily what we're after. But for different sports, squat depth will change and be more important or less important. But ultimately, doing it correctly to get the best out of that exercise is what's needed. So if I have 10 guys and 5 of them are let's again continue with the squatting at the proper depth, doing it the correct way, increasing the weights over time, they're going to get stronger and they're definitely going to reduce the risk of injury versus someone who's stopping a little high, putting on a lot of weight, trying to push through the workout. They're going to say, man, I got a hard workout. I really pushed a lot of weight today. But they really didn't make their body any better. They didn't improve their movement patterns. They didn't improve their strength overall. They just, kind of stood under some heavy weight, which may have some small residual benefits, but overall not going to get them where they want to be. And we always say this, we don't want to be All-Americans in the weight room. I mean, it's great to have the biggest bench on your team, or to be able to run the 40 the fastest, or if you're a soccer player, if you whiz through the cone drills, that's great. Being fast and being strong is super important, but if it doesn't help you on the court or on the field, it doesn't matter. So I, a lot of times, will take weight off the bar to make sure that the technique is there, to make sure that they're moving properly so that they can get better on the field. Because that's the end goal. Sports performance and general strength training are, inherently the same in terms of the modalities that we use. Barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, sleds, bands, balls, all of that stuff. We use that for both. But there's a specific end goal when we're talking about sports performance, and that is the performance on the field, on the court, on the ice, wherever you are performing. That's what we're trying to get to. So that being said, we want to make sure that our athletes are prepared to do so in their respective sport. So again, I'm not going to get in this video into what exercises we're going to pick for various sports. If you're interested in that, I do have a sample for a football team on our website. So if you go and look under the Sports Performance tab, there's a sample year-round program for football that's up there. And if you're a soccer coach or a volleyball coach, lacrosse, anything like that, email us, and Chelsea and I will get back to you, and we'll give you a little sample template of what we would do and what kind of exercises we're going to pick for your teams. But I want to touch base on something a little bit. Speaking of teams, we realize that in this setting we're not going to be able to get necessarily your entire team in here. We would love to, and we have the room for it. We've got 4,200 square feet of turf and lifting area, so we can accommodate your entire team. So that's not the problem. What we want to make sure that we get across is whether it's one or two of your athletes that are coming in or your entire team coming in, we can accommodate just that. So understanding that there might be 2 or 3 highly motivated people on your team, we can work with that. We can, if you want to bring your whole team in here and block an hour and a half off for that, the prices are pretty cheap. If you look on the website, for example, a team, which we're defining as 6 or more. So if you have 6 people or more coming in at a time, they can train twice a week for a month, so 8 sessions for $600 for the whole team. So you divide that up, if you get 10 people in here, it's going to be pretty cheap. Specific one-on-one training or one-on small group training for the athlete, per person. So you can't really beat that. And I'll be hard-pressed to find something that's going to get them the results that we know we can give them. We do a movement analysis and a screening with all of our athletes before we put them through. Our philosophy is that we want to help educate all of our athletes to move well, but to know why we're picking these exercises, why we're having them do these warm-up exercises, to understand how their body works. If you're an athlete, you need to know your body. You need to understand how your body moves and how it works. You don't have to be an exercise physiologist. You don't have to understand all the sets and reps and the rest intervals, and you don't have to get super in detail that way, but you need a basic understanding of how your body moves and what type of movements and what type of exercises are going to elicit a particular change. And that's what we're doing when we talk with our athletes. We're trying to get them to understand that, to move with purpose. And that's the big thing. That's kind of our tagline. We want to move with purpose. Not just, again, a 500-pound squat is awesome, but if it doesn't help us on the field, it doesn't matter. I would rather have someone that squats 300 pounds that can move quickly and be in the right position and be structurally balanced, rather than just someone who can move a ton of weight but can't move side to side without tripping over. So it's that education and that self-empowerment that we're trying to do, moving with purpose. Educating the athlete on the hows and whys of what we're doing will help them not only push through when it gets hard, that's good too, but also have them understanding of how what we're doing is actually helping them to achieve better results on the field. So the last thing I want to talk about is just how we bring everything together, and we talk with the coach, coaches, we talk with the athletic trainers. A lot of times, we have athletes that come in a group setting and one or more of them are injured or have restrictions. And so the general thought is, well, they don't do anything. Well, there's still stuff they can do. We just work closely with the athletic trainer and say, work around that injury, or they can give us updates on what they're cleared to do or not able to do. And so we take that into consideration. I myself was an athletic trainer for a number of years and have a good understanding of what an athlete can and can't do based on their particular injury, but we still will call and talk with their medical sports medicine provider. Um, the in addition to that, we work with the coaches. So, each year I could write a program, say for soccer, that works really, really, really well. But let's say we have some guys on the soccer team that are very fast. They run real fast. But when we go side to side, they're not working so well. So we're going to adjust, especially when we get into the preseason phase. We're going to adjust their skill-based stuff for a lot of lateral movement. Working cone drills, working just lateral sidestepping, shuffling, ladder drills to improve their lateral movement. And let's say that works great for that year, and then some of those players graduate or a new crop of kids come in, and again, their agility seems to be okay, their speed seems to be okay, but the coach is noticing that, we fade at the end of the game. Our endurance is just not where it needs to be. We can work on muscular endurance. I'm sure during a soccer practice, we're running. So we're working on that cardiovascular endurance, but muscular endurance from a strength perspective is a huge aspect as well. Also, a huge way to decrease risk of injury. But what I'm getting at is we'll have specific, or we can change our specific programming from year to year, from season, fall to spring, from phase to phase, based on how they're performing and what we're seeing out of the team. For example, I worked with the softball team that was great fundamentally from the defensive side of things. They moved well, they were athletic, and they were relatively fast, but they weren't extremely strong. We worked on their power, we worked on their explosiveness, and about a year later, they were leading their conference in home runs, and actually won conference. So the thought is that changed. Now, if in the next couple years their team were hitting the long ball, but they were stiff and robotic when they moved, I would need to change the programming based on that. So what I'm getting at is we're not going to just write one cookie cutter program and say, here it is, here's the volleyball program, here's the women's basketball program, and that's it, and that's the only one you'll ever need. No, it's going to change day to day, or year to year I should say, and that's where working one-on-one with the coach is super important. So we know what that coach needs with their team. No one knows the team better than the head coach and the assistant coaches. And we're there to assist the coaches and help them get their players where they want to be. They have a vision. One of the things that we see a lot in basketball is we see, coaches have a particular offense they like to run, and you need particular skill sets in order to do that. Now, I understand in the junior high, high school level, that's maybe less important than at the collegiate ranks, but it still can play a role. And so if you're trying to have an offense where, you have a lot of post play, we need some strong post players down low. And so there's certain things that we would do in order to increase that kind of strength versus, a run and gun, style where we're going to be, a little bit more up tempo with our movements, and working on a little bit more strength and power, explosiveness, that sort of thing. So again, we can adjust based on the needs of the coach, how they want to shape their program. So at the end of the day, you have a lot of options out there for, getting in shape, and having your kids do anything is better than nothing. And so if you just write them out something to do or tell them to be active and they're active, that's great. The other thing we can do for the coach, for the team, is give reports. So, we write down what we do, and each athlete will have a log of, their weights, how they feel, what's going on in their life that's maybe affecting their training. And we share that with the coach. In other words, the coach is going to understand exactly how their athletes are moving, how exactly their athletes are progressing over time. Because even if the team or the school isn't paying for it, it's still, they're invested in the future of their kid and the health of their kid and the increased performance from their athletes. So we work closely on that end as well. And lastly, just kind of sharing the vision of Upstate Performance Project. We're located in downtown Greenville. Greenville High, you guys are right over there. I mean, if Floor Field wasn't in the way, I could see right into your parking lot. we're very close to a lot of different schools, and we have the ability to serve a lot of schools. And what we would love more than anything is for you, especially in the summers, to have some sectioned off times where your team can come in or your school can come in. We might have say 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's Greenville High time, or that's J.L. Mann time, or Christ Church. You guys come on over here, South Side, Wade Hampton, East Side, Hillcrest, Malden. All of you high schools in the area, you can have some time blocked off where your athletes can come in, even if they're from different sports. Come in, we'll have your sports particular workout ready, and you can go through your workout. And myself and Chelsea Woodruff, our other co-owner, will be here to help and guide you through your workouts and make sure you're doing it properly. And that's what we want. That's kind of the vision we have. So I want to get that out there. I want to show or tell you guys that to know that we have that resource here. And once again, let me just briefly show you. You can see some pictures on our website, but I don't know if it does the gym justice. So I'm actually going to flip the old camera around here. Actually, I'm not. I'm just going to turn. And so you can see we've got our racks, we've got our platforms, we've got plenty of weights, steel plates, bumper plates, turf. Again, we have over 1,600 square feet of turf, 75 feet, runs all the way to the front door and back. We got dumbbells. We have some stretching treatment areas in the back, locker rooms, bands, glute hams, sleds, all kinds of sleds, all kinds of bands, all kinds of implements to get you better at your sport. So please come by and check it out. If you're a coach watching this, we have some discounts. We have some gift cards that we can hand out that you can give to your parents that you might think need this, or their athletes would want that. So we want to be your resource. We're very passionate about what we do, working with the junior high school athlete population. Please keep us in mind and give us a call. Thank you.